Well, welcome to this week's vlog, and this week, as promised, is my Q&A answers to your questions. I hope you like the new office setup that I've got behind me. It's taken me ages to build it all, absolutely ages, getting everything into place. I've had to cut away for some of the plaster to get the nice brick wall behind me. What? Yeah, all right, it's a green screen, but you know, going up in the world, at least I've got a green screen, and we'll see how that works. It could look awful. I have no idea. Anyway, let's get to the Q&As. Excuse me, I've got dust allergy all of a sudden. I think it's this, I've had this green screen behind me for a while, this material, and I think it's got a bit dusty, and I get terrible dust allergies. You'll have to forgive me anyway as we move along. So, let's get cracking on this Q&A, and let's get to the first question. I've got my sheet of questions here. So I've had a few of these questions for my favourite locations for landscape and street photography. So what I'll do is I'll answer all of them in one go rather than dragging it all out. But thank you very much to those who submitted those questions. I would say that my favourite, if I could absolutely go anywhere, I think, for street photography with no limits at all and no fear for my safety, I would probably go to North Korea. And I just not Pyongyang, not the capital, but just one of the smaller towns out there, and just try and capture what it's really like out there. Try and get an essence of the people. I think that would be a really interesting project. Obviously, I'd need to have my safety guaranteed, but yeah, I'd like to do that. And in terms of photography, landscape photography, sorry, again, I think I'd really like to go to Thailand. You know, you see those seen them in sort of the James Bond films and a few other films where you've got these huge rock stacks that come out of the water, and there's just loads of them, and the sea looks so crystal clear and everything looks fantastic there. So I'd love to go and take some shots of that, maybe with some of the old fishing boats at sunrise or sunset. So I think, yeah, that would be, because everyone wants to go to Iceland and Norway nowadays, somewhere a little bit different. So Steve Mozzie asks, what effect does photography have on your mental health? Which aspects boost your well-being and which aspects have a detrimental effect? And he says he's feeling on a bit of a low at the moment and thinking of selling his gear. Well, first of all, Steve, don't sell your gear. Don't sell your gear. Just keep hold of it, because we all go through those difficult times. We all go through highs and lows in photography, or in life, in fact. But you'll come through it. You'll come back the other side, and you'll regret it, I think, if you sell your gear now. I've done several similar things when I've needed money more than being down, and I've really regretted selling my gear, because for me, I look at it now and say, will I ever be able to afford to get that gain? So probably not. But in terms of how it affects my well-being, just being out affects your well-being in a positive way. Being out in nature, I know it's said so many times by so many photography vloggers, but it's true. Being out in nature, being at one, getting up in the morning, feeling that sun come up, or being there for a beautiful sunset, just looking around at your surroundings, that can really bring you up. And of course, sometimes you have bad days when you're out taking photographs, but I can't ever remember a day that I went out and thought that's had a real bad effect on my health, on my mental health, on my mood, or anything really. I can't really recall a day that's been that bad. Even the bad days are still good for the soul, I think. So, just keep going out, go to somewhere go to somewhere you're comfortable with, and just, go and take a shot. And I guarantee what will happen is at some point, if you keep going back and keep going out, you'll get that shot. You'll get that one shot that you look at that will give you that fire back for photography. So don't give up, keep going. Got a question from Simon Healy here. Hi Simon, thanks for the question. It says, which aspects of vlogging do you enjoy the most? Is it, for instance, being out with a camera, the editing of the videos, or nailing the final images on a successful day out? Thanks for the question. I would say that the best part for me is being out, but then that's in terms of the photography. In terms of the actual vlogging, the process, my favourite part of the process is the editing, is putting it all together, because I often am quite loose around how I shoot my vlogs. I don't go out there with a preset plan. I don't draw a storyboard out or do anything like that and think I must get a shot of this, I must get a shot of that. It's very fluid. I just do it off the cuff really. And then sometimes that comes with its own challenges where you didn't get enough B-roll, or you're trying to put something across and the B-roll simply isn't there, or you've got something wrong, or you've spent a lot of time on one photograph saying this is going to be great and it turns out to be not so good, and then it becomes a real challenge to put the vlog together. But I like that challenge, and it kind of, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, if you like. When you need to get something out there that isn't there, you kind of just cook up some interesting ways to put that point across without necessarily all of the footage that you could have had. So I really enjoy that, and I get a real sense of achievement out of putting together a vlog under difficult circumstances. But in terms of the whole process, I think being out there with the photography is my favourite part, but that's more photography than vlogging. Got a question here from Andy McGarry. Thank you, Andy. He says, has vlogging helped or hindered your photography growth? Do you find that you have to be a jack of all trades photographer, or has vlogging pushed you into more YouTube friendly areas of photography? I don't know that I'll ever be forced into any specific area just because YouTube dictates it. I started this channel as a landscape photography channel simply because I love landscape photography, and I've broadened my horizons mainly because I felt like doing it, not because YouTube has dictated it. So when I've gone and done street photography, that's just maybe probably inspired by watching a few street photographers on YouTube and thinking I'll have a go at that, and finding that I actually really enjoy that as well. Has it hindered my photography? Definitely. In the first place, photography hindered my vlogging hindered my photography, because you're learning something new, and so it's natural that the thing that you are doing is affected because you're trying to add something on top of it. So when I first went out, I was thinking, right, I need to make sure that this is in the right place. I need to make sure I've got a shot of that. I need to make sure that I'm explaining what I'm doing. And your photography kind of drops off a cliff a little bit at that point. But it does pick back up. And now, because the vlogging's second nature to me, the photography has come along, I think, and I feel like I've really kicked on and improved over the last 6 months as a photographer and as a vlogger. Richard Goldsmith asks, my question is, do you only shoot landscape, and why? Well, Richard, I don't only shoot landscape, though I've got several vlogs. If you want to check them out, feel free, on street photography. Steve, no surname, I'm sure he has one, unless he's like Madonna, or even, although Madonna's got a surname, so Kylie, she's got a surname. Anyway, Steve asks, have you ever been on a workshop? If so, what did you get from it, and would you recommend it to anyone else? Well, quick answer to that is no, I've never been on a workshop. I can see the appeal of workshops. I think the problem that I would have personally on a workshop is I'm a terrible student. So I know what would happen. I would pay all this money to go on a workshop. Someone would start telling me what to do, and I'd be like, hang on a minute, don't tell me what to do. don't tell me what to do. I perfectly know what to do. I mean, I don't, but I've got to admit, I'm a terrible student. I don't take instruction very well. So I know that it probably wouldn't be a good idea for me to go on a workshop. Although I can definitely see the merits of it if you're just starting out, or even if you're a seasoned photographer. If there's someone you really respect and someone you really admire, and they're running a workshop, and you feel that you could pick stuff up from them, then definitely I'd say go for it. But no, not for me. I know I'd be one of those people that the people who run the workshop would hate. So I'd stay away from them. But I do pick up a lot of things from my vlogging friends. So if I go out, I'm a bit of a sponge if they're doing something that I've never seen before. But yeah, I don't know, I'm not very good at taking instructions, so I probably wouldn't be very good on a workshop. Stephen McLean, he asks, he says, I use Lightroom and I use the gradient tool to darken my sky. Would filters improve my photography? And if so, which ones? Because they seem very expensive. So this is a bit of a technical question, but I would say that if you're happy using filters in Lightroom, then you don't need to worry about buying expensive filters. So the only filters that I would recommend that you get, simply because Lightroom cannot replicate it, would be a polarizing filter. And also, if you want to take some long exposures, then get yourself a big stopper or a little stopper, so an ND10 10 stop filter or a 6 stop filter. and they will give you some interesting, they'll take your photography on to the next level in terms of some artistic-y style shots if you want to get some long exposures. But you don't need filters. You can bracket your shots and then you can blend them together to get the correct exposure of sky and land. You can use the filter tools in Photoshop, and in fact often even when I go out and use a filter, I own graduated filters, soft grads. I don't own the hard graduated filters, which are the ones that have the real abrupt stop between the light and the dark. So it's things that they usually use those with sort of very flat horizons, so like seascapes. I only have soft grads, and very often I'll still use the filter in Photoshop just to darken it down a bit more. So you don't need filters. If you want them, then they are good things to have in the field to get it right in camera, but I don't use them all the time, and you certainly don't need them. But a polarizing filter, yes, and a 10 stop or a 6 stop like ND filter, I would recommend if you want to do long exposures. You can replicate it in Photoshop, but it's not as good. So still on filters here, got a question from Anthony Hazelwood. Thanks for the question, Anthony. And he says, how often do you use a CPL, which is a circular polarizing filter, on your landscape photos? Always, most times, or sometimes? I use them most times, to be honest. Or I use it most times, to be honest. It sits on the front of my lens pretty much all the time, except when I'm out doing street photography. But for landscape, it's there. The only issue that you can have with it is you can get these horrible sort of darker areas of the sky where it's half polarized and half not if the sun's in a particular position, and that can be awkward. It can look not very nice, and also you can have that same issue if you're shooting a panorama where half the sky, because you're turning it round, and if as you're turning it away or towards the sun, you're getting a slightly different polarization effect over each shot, so that can look a bit odd. So if I notice I'm getting that, then I'll take it off for that, but otherwise I use it pretty much most of the time, simply because it gives you a bit more punch. It brings out some of the dark richness in the sky at times, and it gives the colours a bit more saturation as well. Another filters question here from Brian Egerton. I hope I've said that right. It could be Egerton. He says, I'm trying to get more into landscape photography. What filters would I use, and when would I use them? It's a genuine question, as I have no idea. I know you do a lot more street photography than landscape photography, Brian, but as I've just discussed, you don't necessarily need filters. Probably, like I said, if you get yourself a polarizing filter for the reasons that I just stated, is a good idea. Get yourself some ND filters, a good idea. Basically, ND filters block out the light. So if it's you've got a whole sheet of dark glass, and it acts like a pair of sunglasses for the front of your camera. So basically what's happening is when you slide that in, you need a longer exposure to get the same amount of light in as you would without it, and it allows you to have longer shutter speeds, which can blur the sky, it can blur water, it can give you that milky effect if you're taking shots of waterfalls, etc. ND grads, you can get soft grads, hard grads, reverse grads. Listen, if you're not sure what they do, then you're probably not ready to use them yet. So I would recommend, instead of using those, that you bracket your shots. So that's take 3 shots of the same image, one underexposed by 1 stop, one exposed correctly, and one overexposed by 1 stop in the first instance, and then try blending them together in Lightroom or in Photoshop to give yourself a correctly exposed image. That's going to be much easier, I think, than trying to work out how grads work. But if you are looking to buy grads, if you do want to buy some ND grads, then I would recommend getting some soft grads and getting a 0.3, a 0.6 and a 0.9, which is a 1 stop, a 2 stop and a 3 stop grad, and they will hold the sky back a little bit for you. A lot of grads questions. Might have to do a vlog on it. Jeff Ogden, hi Jeff, hope you're doing well. Regular contributor to my channel, really appreciate it, Jeff, thank you. He asks, have I ever been very excited about going to a particular location only to turn up and find out that for whatever reason it was uninspiring? Well, yes. The scallop at Aldborough, that was incredibly uninspiring. to be honest with you, I wasn't really very excited about going there in the first place, though, so it doesn't really count. I would say, honestly, and this is probably not going to go down very well, I would say that probably the place that I've been to that's disappointed me the most has been the Lake District. I think it's probably because I hyped it up so much. I haven't been around much of it, I'll be honest with you as well, so there's probably a lot more. But I was so excited to go there, and I was, really pumped. And looking back on my experience there, I've never really got that shot or had that feeling that, like some places I go to, like if I go to Snowdonia, I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. Everywhere, there's a shot everywhere. In the Lake District, I felt more like, yeah, it's quite nice. Maybe it's because it's overshot so much, I don't know, but probably because I hyped it up. But yeah, I have to say the Lake District. So, if any of you guys out there in the Lake District want to take me out and show me some places that I will be completely awe-inspired by, then feel free. Alan Coles, hi Alan, hope you're doing well, mate. He asks, at what point making your vlogs did you really start to feel comfortable with it? Oh dear, I don't think I've ever felt really comfortable with it. When you first start, or when I first started, there's a real trepidation. You're really worried that people are going to look at what you do and really put it down. And I hate rejection. I've always hated rejection. I don't like it if someone says that they don't like something that I've done, or I didn't like it so much. I guess the point where I stopped being so worried about it or felt more comfortable was after I'd hit maybe 250 subscribers, and I felt like, yeah, do you know what? People do want to watch what I'm doing. I'll always question myself, even now, I question my photography, because I find a lot of people say, you get a lot of likes and you get a lot of comments saying, oh, brilliant photo, great photo, amazing photo. But I often, don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't trust you guys, but I do sometimes think, are people just saying that to be nice? Because, I'm still not sure if I'm cutting it as a photographer. But in terms of feeling comfortable in front of the camera, yeah, probably once I had a decent subscriber base and I was getting a lot of comments back, I was getting some comments back that people were enjoying what I was doing, and it made it feel more worthwhile, and then I felt more natural doing it. So I try to talk to the camera as if I'm just talking to a friend, really. I try to look upon the camera as just another person. It's not easy sometimes, but yes, we're getting there, let's say that. So this is a question from Tony Blackwell, another name that pops up a lot on my channel, so thank you very much, Tony, for your continued support. He says, I started watching you when you only did landscape, and then you started doing street photography, and you appear to love that and are very good at it. Thank you very much. Now I see that you tend to go back and forth between the two lately. Do you shoot landscapes because you feel the need to mix it up, or do you feel obliged to your audience? I feel your passion and heart is truly in street photography, and it shows. Am I wrong? I love street photography. I really genuinely do. But I also love landscape photography. And I think the thing is, in terms of from a vlogging perspective, I'm quite wary of doing too many street photography vlogs, simply because they can be very repetitive. I feel that street photography is much more about the pictures, about the images, and landscape photography is a lot more about the experience. So because I feel that there's such a varied myriad of landscapes that I could go and do. I could do a seascape, I could do a waterfall, I could do some mountains, I could go and do a windmill, I could go into the forest. And there's such a large, diverse range of topics in landscape photography, whereas in street photography, I feel that it's very much, I'm on the street and I'm taking pictures. There are events I could go to, like the anti-Brexit march that I did, or if I was to go to a carnival, or something like that. So I do appreciate there are those, but I don't want my channel to become just rinse and repeat all the time with the same subject. So I love street photography. I absolutely love it, and I probably am better at street photography than landscape photography, but I don't want it to become just a pure, here comes Gary again taking the same shots from the same place as he did before in the same style. So I'm trying to mix it up a bit, but I do love landscape photography as well. I really do. I love it. probably as much as street. Yeah, so I've got a passion for both. Wager Catcher, Adam Russell. Hi Adam, hope you're well, mate. He says, what do you find is the best way to get eyes on your videos? Is it spam Facebook groups, collaborations, or just post and hope YouTube helps? Well, oh dear. If I'm honest with you, I don't really care that much about eyes on my videos. I do want people to watch it, of course I do. I had the one the other week which had an absolute clickbait title. The title was correct, so I don't feel that I was lying, but you could look upon the title as clickbait. It seems that if you put negative comments into your vlog title, so mine said "Idiot Ruins," that seems to be picked up by a lot more people, and they want to watch the confrontation, and then they want to watch the carnage. But I mean, that's still going on about 7,500 views, which is way above anything that I normally get. I normally get about 500, 600. But to be honest with you, I don't care really about how many people watch it. I don't care that much about how many people watch it. I just care about the people who do watch it. I'd much rather have a vlog watched by 500 people who really enjoy it than have a vlog watched by 7,000 people who really don't care and are just watching it for the title. I did think when that one exploded, clickbait titles seem to be the way to go, but I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be someone who's just trying to drive numbers, just to drive popularity or drive income. I'm not saying you are, Adam, but I'm just saying I don't want to be like that. If you really want to get numbers, then I think the best way to go is to probably put titles in that entice people to come and watch. But eventually what happens is they'll work it out. If you're putting in things like "can't believe this happened, it's amazing," and then nothing actually happens, people are going to clock that and they're going to stop watching you, and you're going to upset your current subscriber base of people who watch you for you. They watch you because they enjoy watching you, and I think that's the way to go. Try and just enjoy the fact that people enjoy watching you, and don't worry about the numbers. Lee Pelling, hi Lee, watched a few of your vlogs, mate. Very entertaining. Recommend you go and give Lee a go if you fancy it. He's a new vlogger. He says, what did you find most challenging in getting your channel off the ground, and how did you overcome or address it? I'll tell you, the biggest thing I found challenging was my own self-motivation. I never started doing vlogs to get loads of subscribers and loads of views. I started them because I kind of was using it as a way to get out, push myself into going out to more places and taking more pictures, and also something that I can look back on and my family can look back on and remember. The fact that I've got nearly 1,500 subscribers now is just an absolute massive bonus for me. But the most important thing for me was going out, getting out and doing it. So I didn't really have that much challenge. I think that the big thing that helped me, I have to say, was finding the Facebook groups, finding landscape photography on YouTube, finding UTOGs. Not so much in terms of getting the views and getting the subscribers, but getting the support of your fellow vloggers and making friends. So if you're finding it difficult, then maybe go and reach out to those guys and chat, and you might find that you're more inspired to go out and vlog just for the fun of it and let it grow organically. So Mikey, old Mikey Two Dogs, Mikey Swales, hi Mike, hope you're well, mate. He says, as amateurs we can only really shoot when we have time, and the weather and light gods don't always play out when we do. Fair comment. So the question is, do you still take the shot even with poor light? And then he says, actually make it two questions. Do you ever just walk away from a great competition because the light is rubbish? Nope. No, I certainly don't. I'm a hobbyist, and if I drive a long way to get somewhere, I want to try and get a shot. So even if the light's rubbish, I try and make the most of what I've got. I don't put every shot that I take out onto social media. So, I've had vlogs where I've had bad experiences or the light hasn't been great. I've put the photos up, I've edited them to the best that I could for the vlog, but I've never actually posted them out anywhere like on Flickr or Instagram. But generally I'll try and get what I can. I guess if time was money and I were a professional photographer, I might have a different view on it. I might abandon a shoot if the light's not right, but then you don't know, do you? Look at Tim Day did a vlog the other day from Mamtor, and it was an absolutely shocking day all day long, and then right at the end of the day the light came out and just was absolutely fantastic. So I guess patience is the key, and making the most of what you got. And if you don't have good light, try and get something out of the day. I've got one here from Sizer, also a similar question from Colin Huddersall. Hi Colin, hope you're well, mate. Sizer says, how do you find and research locations? And Colin says, how do you decide where to go and vlog? Which is essentially the same question. Generally by watching other vlogs, word of mouth, looking at pictures that I'm impressed with. So if I see a really good image on Flickr or on Facebook or wherever, I'll think, oh, where is that? And then I'll go and try and work out, can I go and take that shot? Whereabouts is it? And I always do a bit of research. Like I learned a while back that research is really important in terms of, especially in terms of location and parking, because if you're going somewhere for sunrise and you don't get the parking right, you could miss out on the sunrise. So always try and do a little bit of research in those terms, see what else is in the area, because if I can kill two birds with one stone and get 2 vlogs out then, or 2 or 3 vlogs out then, that's always a benefit for me as well, because I very rarely seem to find myself just going out and taking photos. Every time I go out, it tends to be with the intention of taking photos and vlogging the experience. So yeah, I mean, that's basically how I do it. And then of course there are good people like Colin who will point me in the direction of some good locations. For instance, the poppy field that I went to the other day. So yes, I hope that answers that question. John Chappell, hi John, hope you're well. He asks, there must be, I'm sure, a couple of famous or professional photographers who have influenced you. Who are they, and which fellow YouTubers influence you and influence what you do? Well, in terms of photography, I've said this before, photographs influence me more than photographers. So landscape wise, there isn't really anyone who I would say, oh, I love. Actually, that's a lie. That's a complete lie. There are a couple of people. There's a guy called Neil Burnell, who is an amazing photographer. I love his work. I was lucky enough to meet him at the photography show, and he's a really nice guy as well. He takes some fantastic images. A lot of them are very much composite images. They're not purely out the camera, but I love that. I think it's fantastic, and the light he gets, the shots he gets are absolutely amazing. So I love him. And there's also another photographer called Verity Milligan. I think it's Milligan. I hope it's Milligan. Verity Milligan, anyway. She's just the most frustrating photographer ever, because what happens is you think you're getting good, or you think, do you know what, I feel like I'm really improving with my landscape photography, and then an image of hers pops up on YouTube, on Twitter, and you're like, oh, I'm really not getting any good. I'm nowhere near this woman. She's absolutely phenomenal. So she's a great photographer. I really, really like her work as well. So yeah, they are 2 that inspire me. I wouldn't say that I could even replicate what they do, because Verity seems to have such a light touch with photography. She doesn't do a lot. Doesn't seem like she does a lot in post-processing, but her work is always so beautiful. And Neil, the stuff that he does, I don't even think I could begin to attempt in post-processing it, and I think that I wouldn't even know how to capture the images in camera in the first place. So yeah, those 2 definitely. And in terms of street photography, there was a guy called Fan Ho. I didn't realise that I was being inspired by him. In fact, I don't think I was inspired by him, but I just realised that my work, everything that I look for in my street photography, or the things I look for in a perfect street photography shot, are almost replicas of what his work is. So he's very much black and white, small people, big surroundings, big locales, small people. And that's exactly what I like. I love those sort of verticals, tall verticals of buildings with a little person just wandering down the alleyway or whatever. That for me is, exactly what does it for me in terms of street photography. And that's exactly what he made made a career out of. So yeah, Fanho. Ian Stronghill, another really good supporter of the channel. Hi Ian, really good to hear from you. Thank you so much for all of your support. He says, I'm not sure if you ever do portrait photography, but if you were commissioned to take someone's portrait, who would you choose? I don't think it would be for me somehow, but if I were to start it and I could choose anyone, I think it would need to be someone with a lot of character, a real characterful face. So anyone in the world, maybe someone like Jack Nicholson or Robert De Niro, someone like that, someone with a real bit of character in their face, someone who's sort of gritty, and Clint Eastwood, maybe someone like that. So yeah, and I'd like, because I've got this thing, I've always thought about doing this. There's a style of photography where you're just using one light, and it's very much sort of film noir type style of photography where it's very dark. Everywhere else is very dark, and there's just this sort of one light, and it just really picks out all the crevices and wrinkles on your face. So yeah, something like that. And yeah, they'd be the perfect people, I think. This is a lot of questions. I really do appreciate all the questions.